A federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to end its deployment of National Guard troops in Los Angeles. Thanks for joining us for the KTLA 5 News at Noon. I'm Glenn Walker.
And I'm Lou Parker. This latest ruling also calls for control of the troops to return to Governor Gavin Newsom.
KTLA 5's Karine Winter live now at the News Center with a reaction from Governor Newsom and the White House. Karine?
Glenn and Lou, this is a ruling the Trump administration will likely appeal. But the question is, are those National Guard troops still stationed here in Los Angeles today? Well, that's still unclear, but we know that some troops were previously staged outside the Metropolitan Detention Center in downtown LA. Sky 5 checked that location this morning. We didn't see any National Guard members there on the ground, but they could just be deployed elsewhere in the city or staged at another location. Now, as for this new ruling, a White House spokesperson said in this statement, Trump exercised his lawful authority to deploy National Guard troops to support federal officers and assets following violent riots that local leaders like Newsom refused to stop. We look forward to ultimate victory on this issue. There have been months of legal challenges over the Trump administration's authority to federalize California's National Guard. Earlier this year, President Trump ordered the deployment of 4,000 Guard members to LA to combat massive protests following those immigration raids. Governor Newsom fought to return control of troops back to the state, called the president's move illegal and unprecedented. Back in July, President Trump started the process of reducing the number of federalized troops in Los Angeles. The administration was then taking steps to lower that deployment to 100 troops that were supposed to remain federalized until February. The judge has halted this court order until Monday. They want to give the administration more time to possibly appeal this decision. One of the state's biggest arguments was that the civil unrest had declined significantly since those violent summer demonstrations, and that the use of military force was no longer justified. Attorneys for the Trump administration countered, saying that threats to federal agents remain, and they even referenced a recent incident where officials arrested a man who allegedly tried to firebomb a federal building here in Los Angeles. Attorney General Rob Bonta said in a statement today, he said this is a good day for our democracy and that President Trump cannot federalize the National Guard without justification. That's the very latest here in the News Center. I'm Karine Winter, sending it back to you now in the studio.
All right, thank you, Karine. Newly released body cam footage shows the moment Luigi Mangione was first confronted by police before his arrest.
Someone called, they thought you were suspicious. Should your ID on you? Yes, sir. Thanks.
Mangione was arrested last December at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. The 27-year-old is accused of murdering United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in Manhattan. He was back in court this week for a pretrial hearing where his attorneys are fighting to keep key evidence seized during his arrest out of the trial, including a notebook and a gun. But some legal experts argue the judge's ruling will not affect the case's outcome.
We believe that they've been obtained illegally and contrary to the law.
I could see the judge saying, you know what, this was not a justified warrantless search, but inevitable discovery.
The hearing is scheduled to resume tomorrow with testimony expected from other officers who were at the McDonald's.
A new move to make sure detained or deported immigrants receive their final paychecks. The LA County Board of Supervisors is considering a law that would allow family members or a designated person to pick up that final check if the worker is no longer able to. The way it stands right now, if someone is taken into custody by ICE and deported, they lose out on that last paycheck. And foreign tourists visiting the United States could soon be required to provide years of their social media history.
That's a proposal by U.S. Customs and Border Protection as it gets deeper into vetting foreign visitors. KTLA 5's Omar Lewis live now at LAX with more. Omar.
Hi, Glenn and Lou. Yeah, under this new proposed rule, it does not specify which specific kinds of social media posts would result in denied entry into the country for those foreign travelers. However, what we do know under this proposal is that many of the international travelers behind us here at the Tom Bradley International Terminal at LAX would have to share far more of their digital lives before they ever get to this check-in line or baggage claim. Before international visitors snap those selfies in Hollywood, the U.S. may soon be scrolling through their feeds first. Under the draft rule, U.S. Customs and Border Protection would make it mandatory for travelers from 42 visa waiver countries, including Britain, France, Germany, and South Korea, to list 5 years of social media history as part of their online application for ESTA. That's the electronic system for travel authorization, allowing most tourists to get permission to visit the U.S. without a traditional visa. The notice does not say whether political opinions would count against an applicant. It just says social media info will be collected as another high-value data element for vetting. Right now, visitors using ESTA pay about a $40 fee and give basic contact details. Authorization usually is valid for about 2 years. CBP says this new rule would help officers spot violent extremism and fraud before someone ever boards a plane, and further enforces an executive order on foreign terrorists and other national security and public safety threats. The rule comes as the State Department is already expanding online presence checks for long-term H-1B visas starting on December 15th. Brigham Young University sociology professor Jane Lilly Lopez says the vague criteria could, quote, allow stereotypes, prejudice, and implicit bias to take the wheel, with serious consequences for applicants. Here's what travelers here at LAX had to say about the new proposed change today.
Well, that goes into the freedom of speech, and I think they should more look into coming up with rules for the internet, for social media, to make sure that some people who post nasty things, that there are rules for that.
I guess with everything going on, I would agree. It's much safer. Yes, it is an invasion of privacy, but this is the world we live in now. So we have to, we have to be safe. It's better to be safe than to be sorry.
You okay with people checking your social
media? Yeah, I'm fine with it. I'll open it up myself and show it to them.
Travel industry groups warn the move could mean longer waits for approval. More travelers flag for extra screening, especially ahead of major events like the 2026 World Cup. Civil rights advocates say social media screening has not been proven effective at finding terrorists, but has chilled and invaded travelers' privacy, especially because people don't know what might be held against them. Industry groups already blame higher visa fees, longer wait times, and tougher entry rules for a projected multi-billion-dollar drop in foreign visitor spending this year. They warn that adding broad social media checks could deepen that slump. For now, though, nothing changes for travelers already holding valid visa approvals. They can use them until they expire. Back live today. Protection will be taking public comments the plan for the next 60 days before deciding whether to move forward with it, amend it, or scrap this plan altogether. That is the latest for now here live afternoon. I'm Omar Lewis. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you, Omar. Well, next month marks 1 year since the deadly Palisades and Eaton fire.
And KTLA 5 filming some families who lost everything in those fires may start making mortgage payments on homes that no longer exist.
We're in the Alphabet Street section of Pacific Palisades, and if you look around here, you kind of get an idea for how this place has come in a year's time. You see how much it has come. You see some homes under construction, completely, well in the process of being rebuilt, like that one back there that is being reframed, is almost, they're ready to put the stucco on the outside of it. And then you have these lots in front here in the foreground where people haven't even started on rebuilding. Their home is gone, even grown. So for those folks who live in homes, they've had sort of a 12-month reprieve here. They haven't had to pay their mortgage. They've had their mortgage on pause for 12 months, but the 12 months ending soon. And pretty soon, they're going to have to start making those mortgage payments, and that is a big, big problem for a lot of folks. All right, let's talk about this mortgage forbearance. For some of these homeowners who lost everything in the fire, the 12 months of mortgage forbearance ends next month. A state law required lenders to let fire survivors pause their mortgage payments, but only for a year. Well, now some of them are going to have to start paying again on homes that no longer exist. To make matters worse, some of these homeowners are required to make a balloon payment of as much as $100,000 or more to repay the banks for the mortgage payments that they missed over the past year. This is for both the victims of the Palisades fire here and fire in Altadena. We spoke to a husband and wife who lost their home here in the Palisades and are now living in Tennessee while they raised the money to rebuild.
Like most families impacted by the LA wildfires, we're underinsured. Rebuilding is extraordinarily expensive. And so many people have to pay a mortgage on top of a destroyed home, and they have to pay rent elsewhere. And it's just simply unsustainable. And so for the protections to expire, it's going to put people into more financial stress at a time where, they're trying to, make ends meet and find a way back into the community.
Now, that couple that you saw there, they're currently campaigning for a new federal law that would extend mortgage forbearance for up to 2 to 3 more years, which is how long it might take for some of these folks to be able to rebuild their homes. They've set up a website. I want to put the information on the screen. It's called disastermortgagerelief.com. There's all kinds of information for fire survivors. We'll send it back to you.
That was Eric Spillman reporting the Federal Reserve has cut interest rates another quarter point. That decision comes from a divided board and uncertainty over the labor market and also inflation. It was the third rate cut of the year, and the amount was anticipated by analysis. It lowers the benchmark rate to a new range of 3.5% to 3.75%. David Lazarus will have more on this and how the stock market is responding today. That's happening next hour.
All right, let's check in with Casey, and you see the blue behind us. It matches the blue behind us.
It is absolutely. I know, isn't it? It is so beautiful outside and warm already. So just know temperatures above average for everyone again today, even along the coast. 74 right now at LAX, 61 in Big Bear, 60 in Lancaster, and it is already 84 degrees in San Bernardino. Highs this afternoon will feel like this: 72 for Palmdale, 84 for Van Nuys today, 84 for El Monte along the coast, 75 for Manhattan Beach today, 83 here in Hollywood, 83 in Santa Ana, and in the